It was fun, right? It
while
was
it
good.
lasted,
I'm
but
glad.
it's
All right,
just,
well, good luck. No.
I can't die! Please don't leave me!
Oh my God, look at that whale.
Here!
No, it was.
Yeah, that pretty much sums up how everything went. Thank you for tuning in to the first episode of I'm Just Saying. Your host, Terry Jenkins.
Yeah, I wonder how Drake and the rest of Toronto are feeling this morning. Well, this morning, it's a beautiful day in Houston. The rain is going away, the African dust is going away, and we've traded that weather for the mosquitoes and, of course, the Houston July heat. But that trade was to be expected, of course, unlike the trade that went down last night when most of us were asleep. I mean, some people do, stay up on Friday night, weekend. Most of us, some of us is partying, doing a little turn up. But me, I'm old. I was in the bed about 11. Most staying up I do is staying up to play 2K. But let's get right into it. Thank you guys for tuning in to the first episode of I'm Just Saying. Kick off my premiere episode today with, of course, the news in the NBA. Just gonna do some NBA talk today. Talk about the move that went on last night while some of us are sleeping. 1 o'clock in the morning, got the notification that Kawhi Leonard decided finally to sign with the Clippers, which everybody was wrong. Actually, if you was watching ESPN, most analysts was actually telling us Clippers were completely out of the discussion. Most of them was telling us that the Lakers was close, 95%, 98%, 90 this percent. But turns out that he wanted to go to Clippers. We even heard from Jalen Rose, analyst, part of the Fab Five, announced that he thought it was a 99% chance, especially when he flew 6 hours back to Toronto, that he was going to be actually staying in Toronto. But Kawhi informed us in the world finally that he would be going to the Clippers. Mostly in part is mostly because of Paul George, which was a shock, I would say, for everybody. In the news, you heard about KD even after his injury. The talk has been Kawhi. A little discussion about Clay, when he's going to resign to the Warriors and how that will work out. Even some AD talk, of course. There's been AD talk since the All-Star break. But no one expected that Paul George would want to go back to LA. I mean, he did talk about wanting to go to LA his last year in Indiana, but thus went to OKC via trade, and then decided when he was a free agent to stay in OKC to give Russ another year. But I'm guessing another year and not even making it out of the second round, Paul George decided that I'm getting out of here, which I don't blame him. Now, Paul George was actually in the MVP discussion, unlike Kawhi, because Kawhi missed plenty of games last year. During the All-Star break, after the All-Star break, James Harden just went crazy, and of course Giannis was still being Giannis in the East. To say the least, though, Paul George is an MVP caliber player. Joining, of course, we all know what Kawhi Leonard can do and what he does defensively and offensively as far as shooting and clutch scoring. Paul George honestly gives you the same tandem. Both of these guys, when you think of two-way NBA players, you probably think of Kawhi Leonard first, Paul George second, and Klay Thompson and whoever falls under. But you definitely have two of the best scorers in the game, both of them in their career. Last year, Paul George averaged 28 points. During the regular season, Kawhi averaging 28 plus during the NBA Finals. And of course, throughout the playoffs, it's been an offensive force for Toronto. Man, the Clippers are going to have a great season. And they didn't even have to give up much in the trade. Gallinari, which he's a shooter sometimes he's not. Not that consistent. Then, of course, their rookie, Gilgeous Alexander, can't pronounce his name correctly, but Mr. Alexander there. Hopefully I'll be hearing this name enough to learn it, just like I learned Giannis Antetokounmpo. But he got traded there to OKC as well, along with 5 first-round picks, guys. That's crazy. So OKC is definitely in the rebuilding stage, which leads me to wonder, which probably other NBA teams are wondering, will OKC be shopping around Russell Westbrook? I know there was reports before the trade went down to the LA Clippers that OKC actually offered Paul George and Russell to Toronto. They didn't disclose all the information, but of course Pascal Siakam's YCP was in part of the trade, and Toronto didn't want to give him up. And also, just heard a few minutes ago from Woj, the reason Toronto didn't want to give Pascal up was because they weren't sure that if they got Russell Westbrook with Paul George, that Kawhi would stay in Toronto. Which to me personally, if I'm a side of the jury, I take that risk. I understand you just came off a championship winning run, and the team you potentially want to keep together because hey, they just won a ring. But Russell Westbrook, Paul George, and potentially getting Kawhi sounds like a good big three to me. But either way it go, the NBA is finally set in stone. We will see if teams like, maybe an East team, Orlando Magic, maybe the Miami Heat, going to team up Jimmy Butler, somebody can offer OKC a deal that they'll be willing to take, and bite on. And so, with that being said, wrapping up what we think is the closing, or at least the most important decision of this offseason, Kawhi Leonard going to the Clippers and then joining via trade him in LA, Paul George. Man, it's going to be a showdown in LA. To get into my second point, after wrapping up that breaking news there, I'm going to start out with the top 5, my personal top 5 NBA offseason moves thus far. Now, the NBA has completely shaken up, literally, with Kawhi Leonard move last night. But I'm going to name my personal top 5 offseason moves thus far, and how they're going to impact each team next year. Number 5, of course, everyone didn't expect it. Maybe we kind of expected it after Kyrie's move there, but the Brooklyn Nets come in at number 5. Of course, making the playoffs last year and giving a little fight with Philly at the 6th seed was, a good appearance by the Nets. Honestly, I don't think going into next year they had on the board make it to the playoffs. Definitely wanted some improvement from the young core, D'Angelo Russell, Caris LeVert, Spencer Dinwiddie, and then you got Jared Allen at the center, which is a nice 5, great defensive player. During the offseason, going back and forth, at first everyone thought Kyrie and KD were going to go to the New York Knicks. The Mecca, quote unquote, honestly, the largest city and most important city in the world. You can't argue Barcelona, but the news, the money, the amount of business that's done in New York City is crazy. And so the number 1 market probably in the world, you would think would easily land NBA players like Kyrie and KD, who are both drama queens, or kings rather, my bad, no disrespect to those players, but they're always in the media for something, always talking about something, always in their feelings, or just kind of moody for something. That goes for both guys. But to land them in Brooklyn is a huge move. It's crazy the things that are going on with the Brooklyn Nets. Jay-Z have acquired them, of course, with some Russian guy, I don't know his name. And then building the arena, moving it from New Jersey into Brooklyn was Jay-Z's idea. And now, fast forward 2-3 years later, them landing 2 of the premier NBA superstars. I want to say both players, KD top 3, definitely Kyrie's in the top 15. And so that's a big move for the Nets. Now, this year they're not going to make that much noise. I expect them to get the playoffs. Like I said, Caris LeVert, Spencer Dinwiddie, Jared Allen are great pieces. Joe Harris, great three-point shooter to come in with Kyrie. And of course they added DeAndre Jordan. Sorry, didn't mean to leave him out. I expect them to make the playoffs. Not a deep run, but definitely when Kevin Durant return, even if he's 75% Kevin Durant, look out for the Brooklyn Nets, man. Sad what happened to Kevin Durant. I think had potential to probably go down in history as one of the best to ever do it, behind Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, not Kevin Durant, LeBron James. Injury, we really have to see how he's going to return to really see. But either way, big move for the Nets. Number 4, I feel like they're going to surprise a lot of people in the West next year. The trade, first off, with Mike Conley was gorgeous. It was perfect. They did have to give up a ton. Definitely had to give up a ton. But then acquiring, on top of that, Bogdanovic, who played in Indiana. One of the reasons Indiana made that good run and made a 3rd seed last year without their best player, Victor Oladipo, was the performance of Bogdanovic. So to be there in Utah with an established shooting guard, one of my favorite rising players, Donovan Mitchell, who's spectacular, had a good season last year. Didn't have the best playoff experience, especially going up against someone like James Harden. You can imagine it being very difficult for him the minutes that James Harden plays. Plus, him having to go one-on-one with James Harden. Of course, I know he switched off a few times. Other people help out, but he was mainly guarding James Harden, which James Harden had a wonderful series, of course, against the Jazz. So Donovan Mitchell still, I feel like, had a good season last year. Rudy Gobert coming, bringing home the Defensive Player Award, and then you stack up that team with a point guard like Mike Conley, he's extremely underrated in Memphis, still averaging 21 points and at least 8 assists a game. One of the best on-ball defenders as far as the guard position is concerned in the league. Watch out, man. Watch out for Utah. I really expect them to make some noise. In the West, I potentially got them finishing probably top 4 or top 3 next year in the West, of course, falling behind the Clippers and the Los Angeles Lakers. But watch out for the Utah Jazz, man. Great move this offseason. If I'm them, I definitely say they got an A+ on the board for their offseason. Coming in 3rd, even though the news came out last night about Kawhi not going to the LA Lakers, I still say LA Lakers have to at least rank in the top 3, and I put them right at 3 as far as off-season moves by just simply landing Anthony Davis. We did make a push for it before the All-Star break last year, which I believe kind of destroyed the team chemistry. But to be able to pull it off and not have to wait the extended year, went into the next All-Star break, was amazing. Definitely getting that number 4 pick, honestly, kind of helped us hit the ball out of the park there. Landing that, I still can't believe we landed the 4th pick out of the lottery. That was amazing to me. And so trading that along with the younger assets, Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, who I loved, and Josh Hart. Man, I will also say they didn't make my top 5, but if I had a 6, probably 7, because I'll throw Portland in there. Probably a 6. I would definitely put the Pelicans into huge offseason moves, because that trade worked out for them too, having those young superstars. I think potential superstars. And Brandon Ingram, if the blood clot issue is okay with him. Lonzo Ball, we know what he can do. He just got to develop that shot. And Josh Hart, which is a proven shooting guard, at least 6 men off the bench. The Pelicans got a nice squad, but LA landing Anthony Davis with LeBron James. What can I say? Anthony Davis still has a chance for us next year to kind of remind us that he is the number 1 big man in the league, which I say is up for debate with Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic from Denver. But Anthony Davis has a chance to come back and remind us all that, hey, he's the dominant enforcer of this league. Teaming up with LeBron James, who makes everybody around him better. I mean, everybody. For God's sake, we was talking about Matthew Dellavedova. That guy wouldn't even be known, no offense to him, if it wasn't for LeBron James. And so with LeBron James getting a key shooter last night. I know there was a lot of news last night about the Clippers, but landing a shooter like Danny Green, who's also has long playoff experience, knows how to hit big shots, hit some big shots in that Golden State series, by the way, down the stretch. Knows how to play defense on the perimeter, and so it kind of eases LeBron James' load on the defensive end on the perimeter. Getting a guy like him, bringing him in, re-signing JaVale McGee, who I like in the post. I feel like Joel Embiid has a lot of energy and a lot of untapped potential that with LeBron James always brings out the best. And everyone will continue to see Joel Embiid grow and develop. KCP, I don't want to say is the best pick, but again, another 3-and-D guy. Hopefully he brings back that three-point shot this year. He can be a knockdown shooter. I say we probably end up re-signing Rajon Rondo. Who else do we have out there to really bring in as a point guard? Not downplaying Rondo, especially if he's quote-unquote playoff Rondo the entire season. That's a wonderful matchup with LA. Just bringing the Lakers back and forth. You can tell by this old school Lakers jersey, hardwood classic NBA jersey, real old school retro Kobe Bryant jersey. I'm a die-hard Lakers fan. The last 5 years we haven't even been relevant other than Lonzo Ball. And then obtaining LeBron James really brought LA back to where we supposed to be as far as the Kobe Bryant days, the Shaquille O'Neal era, the Magic Johnson, Showtime Lakers, bringing in Anthony Davis. As a Lakers fan, I'm excited. Even though we didn't get Kawhi, I felt like Kawhi would have honestly put us over the top. I'm an NBA fan, of course, also a Lakers fan, but an NBA fan. I wouldn't have liked it for the NBA. I'm pretty sure we all can agree the last few years with Kevin Durant and Golden State hasn't been that entertaining. And I honestly think the injury, it was more entertaining this year. So I didn't really want to see that one team just have ultimate power because I like balanced storylines. I like balance. I feel like that makes the NBA champion more of a champion. But definitely as a Lakers fan, I'm happy today with LeBron James. Anthony Davis, rising superstar, I believe in Kyle Kuzma, was going to be that third piece. I didn't feel like we really needed a third piece because it gives Kyle Kuzma the ability to grow into the player that he's becoming. So you got to put the Lakers at number 3. Number 2, gonna cap it off, Philadelphia, man. Philadelphia, of course, lost Jimmy Butler, so you kind of wonder how did they get better. Well, they got better because they re-signed Tobias Harris, a great shooter, great 3-and guy. He can guard the 4 and the 3. Hopefully his defense is a lot better. He did get better, honestly, in that Toronto series. They just lost in that shot, but his defense definitely stepped up down the last 3 games. Tobias Harris with a max contract. He's a great shooter, great clutch shooter, but even a bigger asset. They also, of course, added Richardson from the Miami Heat, who's a great shooter, and he also plays defense. He's kind of a scorer, young kid. It'll be nice to see him with Ben Simmons playing off the ball, with Ben Simmons who can distribute the ball like, honestly, as good as anybody else in the league. To continue to see Ben Simmons to develop with Joel Embiid if he just can stay healthy. If Ben Simmons doesn't develop a shot, which honestly I don't think he's going to develop a shot in one season, Philly, I feel like, are the number 2 contenders behind the Clippers to win the championship next year. I know they have Giannis in Milwaukee, who's going to be huge to overcome. But adding a piece, which I go back to the biggest reason I picked up, like Al Horford, to step in that locker room, to bring the leadership. Joel Embiid, cool guy, but we all can tell he's not the most serious guy in the locker room. I know we see him cry with so much emotion after the loss, but even then you can tell he's still a kid at heart. Bringing in a mature vet like Al Horford, who has been in several situations, to mature and bring up those young guys like Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris, Quentin Richardson, who they just got and just acquired, and Joel Embiid, to be that mature, physical leader in that locker room for those guys is huge. It's honestly as big as a pickup as an Anthony Davis or a Kawhi Leonard for that locker room alone, because they already have talent. To add Al Horford just honestly puts that team over the top. they're going to be the best defensive team in the league with their starting lineup. Which is smallest guy on the floor being 6'5". So, like I said, definitely got Philly coming in at number 2. And just to wrap it up, we started out the show with them. We're going to end the show with them. Lou Williams made a wonderful post at the end on his profile. But yeah, the LA Clippers are number one off-season move. Landing Kawhi Leonard, and then stealing and robbing Paul George from the OKC Thunder. Kawhi is the board man wins again. And if they're talking about the board game like chess, Kawhi played chess when it came to this offseason, reaching out to Paul George, telling Paul George, give him a call, telling him, hey, I want to go to the Clippers, but I want you to come with me. Having Paul George to go to OKC, to tell OKC I don't want to be here no more. And then demanding that trade, putting pressure on the Clippers by going back to Toronto after the meeting. Basically, the Clippers gave up the house as far as all their picks. 5 first rounders, crazy, man. Gave up a young talent in Mr. Alexander. Then also Gallinari, we know what Daniel Gallinari can do. Decent shooter. They didn't have to give him much, honestly, to get Paul George. OKC is going to rebuild. Like I said, look out for Russ to possibly be traded to another team. But man, the Clippers are my pick, honestly, to win a championship next year. I know Kawhi and Paul George got a mesh, but you still got Lou Williams. You still got Marquise Harrell coming off the bench, man. It's just crazy, man. It's just crazy. They still got a team. Still got a wonderful team there. So that's it. Thank you for tuning in. Honestly, I was hyped up for NFL season kickoff, but I'm just as excited, man, today about October. Be sure to tune in to my next episode. We'll be kicking off the NFL talk. I'm going to be breaking down all 32 NFL teams before the season kickoff. Tell you who's my pick for each division to win and come out of that division. So tune in to our next episode on next week. Thank you for tuning in to I'm Just Saying. Be sure on the lookout for the next episode. Will be posted. Also, go ahead, click on that subscription there. Subscribe to my show. Subscribe to my channel. Check me out if you like the content. Be sure to like, dislike if you didn't like it. Leave comments, feedback, anything. I appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in to our first show of I'm Just Saying. Y'all have a great day.